Welcome back to ABC News Live. First, we're learning new details about one of the biggest medical mysteries facing the U.S. military. Service members and veterans have been plagued by symptoms like memory loss, migraines, impulse control, and personality changes for years. Scientists say that's indicative of traumatic brain injuries, and now they have a theory as to why. Neuroscientists say they believe blast waves from troops' own weapons could be damaging their brains. ABC's Anne Flaherty covers the Pentagon for us. She joins me now for more. And what's the theory here, and how certain are scientists that this is the cause, their own weapons?
The latest theory, Diane, is that this is something called blast overpressure. So when they fire big, heavy weapons, things like heavy artillery mortars, anti-tank weapons, it releases this kind of blast wave into the atmosphere that scientists believe can seep through the cavities in their skull, their eyes, their ears, their nose. They have done studies where they found the more exposure these troops have to this blast wave exposure, or the more exposure they have to these blast waves, the more changes they see to the brain. What they don't know is why some troops are impacted with symptoms years later, other troops aren't. They say right now it's just an association. They haven't been able to prove cause and effect, but they are very, very worried about this, Diane.
And how are service members and veterans dealing with these symptoms?
So I interviewed more than a dozen active duty and former service members for this piece, and what we found was that many of these troops did not realize that something was wrong until after they left the service. It was family members who would say, you know, something's not right, your personality has changed, you're too quick to anger. And of course, PTSD is something we've been talking about for years, and when they go to doctors, what they often find is that the doctors try to treat those symptoms. They give them antidepressants, they give them medication for migraines, for example. But what we know from looking at a lot of these troops is that there is probably something broader going on here neurologically. The scientists we talked to say they just still have to narrow it down. More research needs to be done.
And how is the military responding to this association? Are they considering changing how they train troops on these weapons?
So they say that things are already changing. We went down to Fayetteville, North Carolina to interview officials there, and they say that Army Special Forces soldiers, at least, are testing new technologies. They're becoming aware of this blast wave pressure. For example, the soldiers I spoke with wear balaclavas when they go into a shoot house to try to cover their nose and their mouth to try to reduce blast overpressure. You know, and they're also talking about helmet sensors, something they've been talking about since 2008. They say that they're not waiting for the research to be final before they act. They are trying to change the culture there to get troops to raise their hand and say, you know, look, I think something is wrong. But they know that they have a very long road ahead of them on this.
All right. Senior National Policy Reporter Anne Flaherty. Anne, thank you.